Right. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. How are y'all today? Hope everybody is well. It's Sunday again, and so the today's topic is how do we live in the present moment? Yeah. How to live in the present moment. So, in a way, this is a very Zen, very Buddhist kind of teaching. Yeah. In the Chinese tradition, we say 活在当下. Yeah. So, and the Buddha gave the teaching that we should not hold on to the past. We should not long for the future. Yeah. So one interpretation is that we should then live in the present. So, but this question itself, or this statement itself, there's actually something very interesting about this. Yeah, which is we are our existence itself. So to begin with, let's look at our current situation, right? Yeah, and then maybe we can look at what happens if we don't live in the present moment. Yeah. And also, why should we live in the present moment? What's the benefit? Yeah. And then perhaps we can look at how we could live in the present moment. Yeah. So the truth is, we only have the present moment, isn't it? Our very existence is defined by the present moment. Apart from the present moment, there's no other moment that is available to us, isn't it? You think about it. Is there any other moment that you can have access to? We can maybe, so to speak, when we are lost in our thoughts, yeah, we think about the past, then in a way we are not in the moment. Yeah. But the truth is, that is our moment. You know, when you are lost in your thoughts, that process of being lost in the thoughts is your present moment. Yeah. So in which case, then it means that we cannot really be anywhere else except the present moment. But how about sometimes when we think about the future? Similarly, when you are thinking about the future, that moment where you are thinking about the future, that is your moment, your present moment. So then, what do we mean by not living or living in the present moment? One angle is that when we are not in touch with what is happening right now, where our mind is caught up in the past. Yeah, that means, and we are not aware. Yeah, and we are not even aware that our mind is in the past. Then we are not in the present moment. If we are aware, then it means that we are aware that the present moment we are thinking about the past. And if we are thinking about the future and we are aware that we are thinking of the future, then we are also living in the present. Except that at the moment we are thinking about the future. Yeah. So, what are the reasons why we should not live in the past? So let's take a look. Maybe I can use the. Should I use the whiteboard? It's been a while since I write things. Maybe I can write down. Let's see. Let me get my board. Okay. So, living in the present moment. Yeah. So in the Buddhist tradition, or in the Buddhist text, the Buddha often described the past. Then he highlighted the future and the present. Yeah. So we have past, future, and present. So what happened when we think about the past? When we think about the past, we think about the past in terms of 人事物. Yeah. When we think about the future, we also think in terms of 人事物. Isn't it? How about if it's the present? Cannot see the board. Oh, sorry. There's a preview. I switched in the preview, but I never pushed live. Thanks for letting me know. Otherwise, you are wondering what I'm writing. Yeah. So we have. In fact, it's always 人事物. So, but when it's the present, is it still about the 人事物? In a way, yes. Yeah. So then what's the difference? So when it is about the past 人事物, maybe it's something that give us we recollect 人事物. What are we recollecting actually? We are recollecting the past experience, isn't it? Yeah. We are merely recollecting the past experience of some 人事物. Can you all see the whiteboard now? Because I only see that you all say that you cannot see the whiteboard. Don't know whether now you all can see. I hope you all can see it now. So as we recollect the past experience, we can say that there's a kind of show. So then it may be 苦受乐受不苦不乐受. Yeah. 苦受乐受 and 不苦不乐. Not enough space. Let me write a bit smaller. So 三种受 so 不苦不乐受 So we have different kinds of experience or slash feelings. Yeah, feelings as in how we experience it. Then we have the first type, painful. Second type, pleasant. And the third type, neither painful nor pleasant. And as we experience the past painful experiences, then what happened? We may start to become averse. We may depends. Depends on how we experience it. When the Buddha said do not cling on to the past, it was because most of the time when people think about the past, we tend to become attached to it. We hold on to them as though they are still happening. Yeah. So with respect to the painful, unpleasant ones, then we hold on to it and continue to suffer as though it's still happening. You know, and it disturbs our present moment. If we allow it to fester and intensify, then this can even lead to negative feelings towards the people in the past, towards events, and in turn towards those who we think caused those events. Yeah. Or it could be objects that we experience, yeah, that is unpleasant, and we may then in turn have negative feelings towards them. Yeah. And even more importantly is that we hold on to them as though it's really happening. Yeah. So even though it's in the past, it's no longer happening, we may continue to suffer. We perpetuate that suffering. Yeah. And if left unchecked, that suffering can become very real. So maybe I should shift this around so that you all don't get confused. Let me shift this somewhere. Let me shift this here. Yeah. And let me make this a bit smaller. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I hope it's still legible. So this is the past. And for painful ones, we can become negative. We can also have the aversion. We can have resentment. And if it's pleasant, we hold on to it, and we may then regret losing it. Yeah, if it's in the past, it's no longer happening, we may then regret losing it, again become negative. Yeah, so this is one angle. Okay, if you hold on to it as though it's real, become attached to it, you're attached to the past, and but then ultimately the past is already gone, so then you may have aversion. Yeah. And towards those experiences that is neither painful nor pleasant, what happened? Oh, I'm missing a P here. Towards those that is neither painful nor pleasant, we tend to actually be oblivious of them. Yeah, we don't think much about the past if it's neither painful nor pleasant. Yeah, we are ignorant of them. No. So, towards painful, we give rise to aversion. Towards pleasant, we have greed. Towards neither pleasant nor unpleasant, we have ignorance. Yeah. We are ignorant of how it is. The truth is that towards all three, we are ignorant. Yeah, and the last one, on top of that, we have delusion. Yeah, we have ignorance and delusion on all three, and then it gives rise to greed and aversion. Oh. Let me just double check. My page just suddenly bump out. I don't know whether the video has got interrupted or not. Seems to be okay, maybe. So, how about the future? Towards the future, actually it's very similar. When it comes to, and maybe I should explain because there are some non-Chinese students attending the class. So this is people, 人数 is people, events, and things. So towards people, events, and things, likewise, even though it's in the future and it has not happened, but we can actually give rise to, we can feel towards them as strongly as what is happening also. And similarly, the experience of potential people that we may meet, events that may happen, things that we may encounter, can give rise to painful, pleasant, neither painful nor pleasant experiences. And towards those future experiences that is painful, we may start to have fear, fear of what can happen, worry of what that can happen. Towards that which is potentially pleasant, we may have greed, we may have craving for and desire for them to happen. And towards that which is neither painful nor pleasant, we are ignorant of them. We don't think about them. Have you ever think about the future in terms of mundane things like brushing your teeth tomorrow? When you daydream, do you daydream about which is more likely for you to daydream about? Going for a tour? I mean, other than COVID-19, imagine now COVID-19 is over. Yeah, do you daydream about going for a tour, or do you daydream about brushing your teeth? If you daydream about brushing your teeth, then maybe a psychologist may want to talk to you, or psychiatrist may want to talk to you. Yeah, we usually daydream about things that is pleasant, or we worry about things that is unpleasant. Yeah, that which is neither painful nor pleasant, we are oblivious of them. So let's look at this too. Why did the Buddha? Or rather, this is why the Buddha advised us not to hold on to the past or look forward to the future, or long for the future. Yeah, and it's because it can give rise to agitations in our mind, leading to defilements in our mind. And directly, affects the present. How does it affect us? It affects us negatively. So, hence the statement, live in the present. Yeah. But what's so wrong? I want to also explore what's so wrong about exploring the past. Because if you think about it, when the Buddha attained enlightenment, on the eve of his enlightenment, he was said to have recollected his past life, isn't it? Yeah. So remembering our past life is not a problem. In fact, it's part of the knowledges, yeah, that an enlightened person is able to develop. So what is the problem is not the knowledge of the past, but the biased perception of the past. Yeah, that we have selection bias. We selectively remember certain things about the past. Yeah, we selectively remember certain things about the past. Think about it. When we meditate, just as we don't daydream about brushing our teeth in the future, how many of you, when you meditate, and you have thoughts in your mind, yeah, how many of you have thoughts about you brushing your teeth in the morning? I don't. Anyone? Let me see the comments. See whether any of you actually have such interesting daydream. Yeah. Let me scroll down. Anybody? I doubt so. So why is that? Why is it the case? And yet at the same time, when we meditate or when we are not busy, we may sometimes think about what has happened in the past that is a one-off event, yeah, or it could be a recent occurrence of something. And yet among all the things that has occurred recently, it's only that few things that pop up in our mind. Yeah. If you go and observe and examine what comes up in our mind, whether in meditation or otherwise, you will notice that it is because it left an impression. Yeah, and it left an impression because it is either painful or pleasant. Painful enough, it is strong enough to be called painful, or strong enough to be called pleasant. Now this reminds me of an incident recently, and similarly it left an impression. So there was a student who brought her nephew to come and see me. Yeah, if that student is watching, let me see whether that student is watching, I don't know. If that student is watching, it'll be quite interesting. Because as I was sharing about meditation and about the Dharma to the family members, this student's nephew, he passed an interesting comment. Yeah, it's a pity that after that he took it wrongly. Yeah, and he just left instead of continuing the conversation. So he passed a comment to his auntie that that we don't need a Buddhist monk to tell us about psychology. Yeah. So I thought this is really interesting because the thing is, the Buddhist teaching on the workings of the mind predates psychology by 2,000 over years. In fact, Western philosophy itself developed early forms of examination of the mind as well. The difference is that Buddhism describes the workings of the mind to such a degree that some would say that modern psychology is only starting to scrape the surface, touch the surface only in recent times. As we stand, both neuroscience, psychology and psychiatry has found and affirmed several of these teachings that is found in Buddhism. Yeah, so I mean, it just come to mind that as we are talking about that statement, or recollection of the past. Yeah, so nothing wrong with recollecting the past, and the Buddha did recollect the past. The difference is that he don't suffer from that kind of selection bias. He recall everything clearly, and because he recollect everything so clearly, he doesn't have any ignorance about whatever that has happened, and there's no delusion about the way they are. And what is the ignorance and the delusion? It is the ignorance that all the experiences are impermanent. Now, when we sit down and we logically think about it, we all know that it's impermanent, but we may not fully appreciate or connect with the implication of what it means by impermanence. So an exercise that I sometimes ask students to do, which is then linked to how can we live in the present moment, is this. We can start off when we meditate to and if, let's say, certain thoughts arise in us, we can observe and reflect, and consider whatever that comes up in our mind. First of all, is either about the past or the future, or our own musings about the present. And the moment we describe the present, it has already passed. You know what I mean? The moment we describe something, it has already passed. So our description is always sort of out of date, always outdated. So what? So two things. The first is to when we are meditating and something about the past come up in our mind, to ask ourselves, if it's in the past, by definition, it means that it is no longer happening, isn't it? If it's still happening, it's not in the past. Now, so if it's not happening anymore, if it's in the past, what else does it mean? It means that it no longer exists. It doesn't exist anymore. It no longer exists. And if it no longer exists, then why are we allowing ourselves to be tormented over it? If it's something painful, it was painful, it happened before, then maybe we should recognize it for what it is. That yes, a painful experience did occur. We're not trying to deny our experience of the past. We're not trying to whitewash it and put it aside and just forget about it. As some people say, forgive and forget. I don't believe in that. I believe in forgive but don't forget. Because if you don't forget and yet you forgive, that is true forgiveness. If you forgive only because you forgot about it, then what if you remember? Will you still forgive? So recognize that the past no longer exists. Then it may help us to not beat ourselves, because each time we recollect the past and suffer over it, this is what the Buddha described as the second dart, the second arrow. The first arrow is our painful experience that we had already. The second one is referring to the subsequent mental suffering that we have, that we give ourselves. So it is like the dog poo description I gave people. How people manage to throw dog poo at us or stuff it in our mouth, that's another issue. The important issue is to clean ourselves. If instead of cleaning ourselves, we were to take a piece of cloth, imagine there's dog poo, and you take a piece of cloth, and then we clean it up, and after cleaning, you wrap it up, yeah, and then you keep it, and when you're free, you take it out and you smell again. That'll be the definition of lunacy, isn't it? But we sometimes we may unwittingly act a bit crazy, So how about the future? Going towards the future is the same thing. Yeah. So likewise, sometimes when we meditate, we may find ourselves wandering off thinking about the future. It doesn't have to be future in terms of future life or like next year. It can be as recent as tomorrow, recent as what to do after the meditation, yeah, or what is going to happen after the meditation. So similarly, if it hasn't happened, it hasn't happened, and it doesn't exist. That's why it's called the future. Future don't exist. Now, there are some schools in the Buddhist tradition that asserts that past, future, and present all exist. Yeah, and they have a very very rich set of explanation why that is the case. Yeah, that's another Dhamma talk, which I think maybe some of you may be interested. Yeah, but for a start, consider this. Whatever that is to happen in the future, is it happening now? If it's happening now, then it's the present. Yeah, then it's not the future. So by definition again, the future is something that has not happened yet. Yeah, or has not happened yet. So Xue Jun mentioned even the present is not so good, it is still good. So far so good. Good to be alive now. Yeah, true. Especially this year. I think this year is a good lesson for all of us. It's a hard lesson that is forced upon all of us. But perhaps it's a good wake-up call. Yeah. I see a lot of people posting things like they have a lot of plans for the new year, and then with COVID-19, all the plans are cancelled, and they only have one plan: stay alive. Yeah. But I think COVID-19 in Singapore is becoming under control, and so I see that people are starting to forget the lesson very quickly. Yeah, we are starting to likewise go beyond that. Yeah. So how to strike a balance? That's the tricky part. So back to the meditation. When we're meditating, we can use that as a tool. Yeah. When thoughts arise, you observe, is it about the past or the future? Yeah. Let's deal with these two first. And to remind ourselves, whatever is past has happened, don't exist currently. Whatever is in the future hasn't happened, don't exist in the present as well. Yeah. So, but interestingly, we can get very affected by that which is not happening currently. Yeah. So we need to train ourselves. We need to learn, relearn how we should respond to these events. Now, bear in mind, recognizing that past events don't exist anymore is not about forgetting the past lessons. It's about remembering the lessons, but knowing that it no longer happened now. So it shouldn't affect us again. Should we not take preventive measures so that it doesn't happen again in the future? We should. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Yeah. After all, part of the Buddhist practice is to make a firm conviction not to repeat past wrong in the future. Yeah. What is incapacitating is if we allow our remorse about the past to affect our future, such that we are so fearful of the future that we are not capable of exploring potential futures, that we only see the past in the future. You understand? Let me repeat. If we are so affected by the past, negative past, that it colors our future, such that we only see the past in the future, then people that we encounter, even though the people that we will encounter in the future may be very different from people that we encountered in the past, we may not give these people a chance, or we don't give ourselves a chance to experience the new people in the future. We will always color them if we are stuck in the past. So similarly, if we were to just project all our craving so strongly into the future, we may forget about the lessons in the past and then repeat the same mistakes again. Yeah. Now, so a bit more about how to do that. When I thought about the statement, the topic itself, actually I was a bit apprehensive. Yeah. So I changed it to living in the present moment, because the topic originally was how to live in the present moment. And when I think about it, I was like, wow, am I the best person to teach people how to do that? Yeah. To be very honest, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, For some of you, it may come across as a very strange statement. Those who have been attending my class, yeah, I'm not a very enlightened monk. So I thought, wow, to ask me to teach people or share with people how to do it, maybe a bit tricky. Yeah. All I can say is what works for me sometimes. And so what worked for me is what I described earlier, that you start with your meditative practices, yeah, and get familiar with that. And then in your day-to-day, an exercise that I ask students to try is beyond the daily meditation that you do, to just check our mind, check our present mind and body, if you will, throughout the whole day, especially when you are having a change in activities. Yeah, so let's say now you're watching the YouTube or you're watching the Facebook, then later on when we finish, you want to stand up and go to the toilet or go to the kitchen. Yeah, as you are standing up, just take note of what is in your mind. What are you thinking about? Yeah, and ask yourself, is what you are thinking about the past, future, or present? Is it related to what you are doing now or what you are about to do? Yeah, just a few simple questions. It can help you to get grounded and to be aware whether your mind has drifted away. There are many ways to achieve the same results. Also, this is one approach. The last thing I want to share is what I just shared in the morning about how many times we are caught up with things in our mind. Yeah, but at the same time, if we say, oh, let's drop everything and live in the present, we may have the fear that we will forget about things that we need to do, responsibilities, that we have. So how can we strike a balance? So there's this set of questions that I ask people to consider. Yeah. So in the past, I have two questions. Yeah. Today I add one more question. Yeah. The first question is it important? Yeah. So if it's not important, then you don't have to think. You shouldn't waste your time. Yeah. But many times, the fact that the matter is in your mind, it is because you feel that it's important. Other people may not think that it's important, that's their business. Yeah. So one thing I learned over the years is I don't tell people whether something is important or not. Because whatever I say is my perception, is my opinion. If they ask me for my opinion, I can share with them. But they will have their own opinion about things. And that opinion, there's no reason why I should change their opinion. If they think it's important, it's important. Because how do I know that it's not important? Yeah, maybe objectively it's not important, but subjectively it's important to them, and that's what matters. In what sense? That's what matters because that is what will define the way they relate to it. If we perceive something as being important, then it doesn't matter whether it is truly important or not, because it will shape the way we relate to it. Just as when we look at our children, our niece and nephew, the way they relate to Instagram, to TikTok, or to Roblox, to computer games, handphone, to chats, we may look at it and say, this is not the most important thing now, you must focus on your studies. But the trouble is they perceive it as more important, and because of that they are going to relate to it in a certain way. Now if you can help them see otherwise, that's good. But if you can't, then how? So I've come to realize that one of the toughest things to do is change people's perception. Yeah. And to begin with, there are reasons why they perceive it as important. You know, who am I to come in to tell them that no, your perception is wrong? So then, what's the next best thing? The next best thing is to ask yourself the next two questions. The first question is, well, okay, if it's important, is there something that you can do about it? And if so, are you able to do something about it? Okay, so this second question is about your ability to deal with the situation. Because if you don't have the ability currently, then spending more time on it, unless you can spend some time to improve your capability and then you can deal with it, you know, fine and good. But if not, then worrying about it, last I checked, worrying doesn't improve our capability. In fact, it incapacitates us. So the second question is, do we have the ability to solve it? And many times I realize our incapacity is failing to see that we may not be the best person to deal with it. Maybe some other people are more capable, are more suitable to deal with the problem that is important to us. Now, if it's something important, if it's something that we can deal with, we have to still ask a third question, which is it something that we need to deal with it now? 2 and 3 is very similar, but number 3 is about whether it warrants for it to be dealt with now. Second, number 2 is about our ability to deal with it. Third is about whether we need to deal with it now. Third is about time, about chronology, about sequence. Yeah. So only if it's important and you have the ability to deal with it, and the subject matter needs to be dealt with now, if you say yes to all 3, then go and deal with it. If not, if it's not important, or you are not able to deal with it, or you don't have to deal with it now, then maybe you want to write it down, yeah, and put it as a to-do list. Then you can be present with whatever you are doing now. So that is another angle, which is whether it's important, whether you are able to do it, and also whether you have to do it now with respect to the present moment. With respect to the present moment, whatever you are doing presently as compared to what is on your mind, yeah, Do a comparison. Now, there's no clear-cut right answer for every scenario, okay? But I hope these questions can help us to manage, yeah, whatever comes to mind. And perhaps in this way, then we can not drift off at the drop of the hat. A message come in, wow, then we are gone. Yeah, a thought come in. Sometimes the message is through our handphone, sometimes it's in our mind. A message appear in our mind, then we run off, we veer off. And by the time we finish, we come back, we forgot what we were trying to do. Or sometimes the first thought come, we go off halfway through, a second thought come, we go off, third thought come, we go off. And by the time it's number 24 thoughts, we also forgot what the first thought is or what we are doing at the first place. Yeah. Then we may leave a lot of things half done. And to me, that is the big problem. So with that, I want to wrap up for the day. Checking. Yes, Zoping remember correctly. Yes, I mentioned this during the retreat. Yeah. Going to the toilet is something that you are able to do it now, and you need to do it now, and it's important because if you don't go, then you may pee in the meditation hall. So you should just stand up, bow, and then go to the toilet. Yeah. This week is the 6th. Next week let's have a AMA. Yeah, because we have not had an AMA for a while. Ask me anything. So those of you who have questions, feel free to write down into the comments. We have overshot time because earlier I took a bit longer to start up, and then I need to give my machine a break also, because I realize if it runs for too long, halfway through it sometimes hang. So I need to restart the machine a bit. So keep the questions coming. If you have questions, feel free to post onto the comments. Okay, let me just try to read one of the comments. Hui Wen says, how can we plan objectively for the future without getting caught up in the emotions like excitement? Thank you. And no, I don't daydream about brushing teeth. Good. Then you don't have to see me after this for counseling. Yeah. So how can we plan objectively? I think maybe you can try the 3 questions for a start. That can perhaps help you to prioritize. Okay? And with that, let's do dedication. 愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了，普愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛，起立。